Welcome to Go Get Great, the podcast for aspiring entrepreneurs and ambitious small business owners. I'm your host, Brittany, owner of Brittany Miller Socials and mother of 3. Go Get Great is all about helping you make life and business work together. You'll learn about the fumbles that helped get me and my guests to where we are today so you don't have to make them. So come join the journey with Go Get Great. Hello. So many of you guys know my guest today if you've been around my social media presence for a while, because it got an epic facelift, and that was courtesy of this lovely lady. Today, I have Izzy Waite, owner of Izzy Waite Design, with me. And as I'm sure you've guessed, we are going to be talking about all things design and website today. So I just want to start before I let her introduce herself and say that she's like one of my favorite humans to follow on social media because she is like a little ray of sunshine. She is just so genuine and she really wants to help the world in her little corner and area of expertise. And she has absolutely done that for me. So I'm excited to have her on to talk to all of you guys. And if you haven't done so already, I'm sure she'll probably mention this, but I wanted to put it out there because I really like it. But she has an IG live series, Holistically Branded, and she shares a lot of really awesome content on there as well. So welcome, Izzy.
Oh my gosh, you're so sweet. That was like the best intro ever. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Yeah, thanks for having me. And yeah, I'm excited that you're a part of my community too. I feel like we have a lot of shared values. So it's been really great to be connected with you.
That's probably why we worked really well together too.
Yeah, I think so. hmm
So before we dive in, did you want to mention anything else about kind of who you are and what you do? Because I know you do a few different things.
Yeah, let me get my little spiel for you guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, my name's Izzy. I opened Izzy Waite Design a few years ago after I left corporate. I just realized that my values didn't really align in the corporate world. And I really wanted to find a way to use the background in design and marketing that I had to help make an impact. And so I work with heart-centered, passionate entrepreneurs. Like my ideal client are the people who are just bleeding with passion because they're so in love with what they're doing. Because then it fires me up too. And I just feel like when people talk about their passion, they get this like sparkle in their eye. And I feel like it's my role to take that sparkle and turn it into a beaming ray of light so that whenever someone lands on their Instagram or their website or wherever, their branding just speaks for itself and helps people really fall in love with that business owner before they even book their first discovery call. And so yeah, I've just been loving working on branding and website design and helping people really catch the eye of their ideal client. So yeah.
That's awesome. And I honestly, and I've shared this with you a few times, but I get so many compliments on my new branding. Everybody loves it. So you are very good at what you do.
Good. Yeah, I remember when you first came, you like had an idea of what you wanted to do with branding. And I was like, okay, we can like go forward with this. And then we got forward a little bit and you were like, this just isn't me. I don't like it anymore. And I was
No.
like, okay. So I like redid it and really tried to like take your personality, which is like this bright, bubbly, fun personality, and move that into your branding. And I feel like once we started to like really infuse you in it, you were like, oh yeah, this is it. Like I love it. And so I'm glad that we got there for you.
It was good. It was kind of one of those things where I totally went into it going, this is what I want. And I just need her to help me figure out the right shades of the colors I was using, my navy and gold, which ironically I'm wearing today. It's like, I feel like I need to paint this wall orange or something to bring
You
the
should.
energy into my house too. But, um, and I was like, yeah, I just need a little bit of help. And then as I was literally having a conversation with her, for the record, she is like a branding therapist, not a branding designer. There's a difference, I swear. And I was like, having words come out of my mouth and I was like, where did these come from? But like this makes so much sense. And it was like removing the mental block I didn't even know I had. And then we have
Yeah.
these amazing colors now. So it was fantastic. And I think that that's
Yes.
kind of what I wanted to start talking about today
hmm
because I feel like everyone's like, my business is going to officially exist when I have a website. But before they can even really truly get to that point, they really need to figure out, their branding and their ideal clients and kind of have that design piece done first because it
hmm
reflects who they are and who they attract, right?
yes, having a website is so important. I'm a website designer and I will die by that you need to have a website for your business. But if you don't start with your branding and you don't start by first like developing a foundation, your business isn't going to have anything to stand on. And
Mm,
I was recently just talking to someone about this and I was like, so if you build your branding off of, mimicking what your coach looks like or mimicking some of those trends and fads and make it look like that boss babe aesthetic, sure, you might be able to scale it, quickly in the next couple of years, but when those trends and fads kind of disappear, you're not going to be left with a strong foundation. You're going to be left with a foundation that's just, you're not going to feel connected to your brand. There's going to be a disconnect because it's not built off of you and your personality and your values. It doesn't represent you and your unique style. It's really just mimicking what other people are doing. And
mhm,
so that's gonna not have a great foundation to continue to scale your business on. And so when you start your business or when you get to the point where you really want to focus on your branding, you want to make sure you work with a brand designer, or if you're doing it yourself, you really want to sit back and think about what is it that I want my business to represent? What do I want my business to feel like? How do I want people to interact with it when they see my branding? And
mhm.
that's kind of the true foundation. You want those things to speak for themselves. And that's how you kind of build a foundation for your business and start there. Start by building a brand identity. And then you can go into all these other things like making emails, making social
Mm.
media, making a website. But having that foundation of what your business is and what you represent is kind of the key cornerstone to developing a business that's going to last.
Mhm. And they talk a lot about this in the world of email marketing, how if you don't have email marketing, you're building your business on quicksand because you're at the mercy of the social media algorithms. And I feel like
Mm-hmm.
this is kind of similar because if you're basing your branding on the trends that are going on right now, then it falls apart as soon as the trend disappears and you're constantly restarting your business to keep in line with these trends, which would be absolutely exhausting for any entrepreneur. I can't even imagine trying to keep up with that, but it's very much inauthentic, which you mentioned. And I feel like we're definitely in a space right now where people are looking for the authentic people online because they're just tired of inauthenticity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's the word. Yeah, it's so true. We want to see personalities. Like we really, even like with when we shop from big companies nowadays, it's like Wendy's. Is it Wendy's that has like the Instagram or the Twitter that's like hilarious? And it's like
Mm,
5 years ago, Wendy's Instagram would have never been funny. Like
hmm.
we didn't used to have personalities in
Yep.
businesses. And now we care so much more about that. Like people love Patagonia because they know what it represents and they know what it stands for. So we want to feel like we're connected to the people that we're purchasing from. And so
Hmm.
like it's the same thing from big companies to small companies and small entrepreneurs. It's the same thing. Your clients want to feel connected to your personality and they want to feel like you have something similar. I mean, take us, for example, like we're a perfect example. We matched really well on who we are fundamentally as a person. And that made like the client relationship really easy and smooth. And like it was so fun and easy to work together. And
Yeah.
that's how it is everywhere. People want to feel connected and want to feel
Hmm.
like they have something similarly aligned with the people that they're working with.
Hmm. And I think it's almost, I don't want to say more so important because it is important for product-based businesses, but for service providers especially because you are the product and
Mm-hmm.
most service-based providers don't have like low ticket items. So for an entrepreneur to come to you and have that trust in you and to invest such a large amount of money in their business, they really need to know who you are as a person so they kind of have an idea of the outcome they're going to get from your collaboration.
Yeah, and when you leave all of that down to just one-on-one interactions, you make it so much harder. Like if the only time you felt my personality was when we like jumped on a Zoom call, think about all the other times that you were in contact with me, like on
Mhm.
my stories, on my posts, on my website, like everything, like the fonts I use, things like that. It's like when you're
Mhm.
skipping that and you're not putting your personality into every piece, they're not going to build that no like trust factor with you until they jump on a discovery call and then they're going to start the process. But if you infuse
Mhm.
your personality, if you infuse your like mission and your passion into everything and it's like the core of your branding, then they're going to slowly build that no like trust factor. And then by the time they even book their first discovery call with you, they're like in love with you. And they're like, yes,
Mhm.
this is like my perfect match. She's so fun. I know exactly who she is. And that process can start so much faster. So
Mhm.
that's why it's so important. Yeah, you can't skip the small details, the small parts too. You want that personality to really show up everywhere.
Absolutely. And you're talking about the process starting, but I feel like without some of those pieces in place, sometimes it doesn't. People will come and they'll see you and they won't connect with you right away, or they won't resonate, and they're not going to make it to the discovery call because they haven't had that initial click. So a lot of,
Totally.
your social media presence and your website is kind of the starting point.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's why it's so important to, and I think you're so right. Like the branding has to come before you even like do a website, before you even move on to those next steps, because you need to have like where the key base for where everything is going to stem from.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that I did want to mention too, we kind of talked about it in passing here, but I really want to emphasize that your branding is more than the name of your business and your
Mm,
logo, which I feel like a lot of people don't understand, especially in the world of social media. And that's, well, it's a small frustration for me, but I work a lot with clients and they don't seem to understand that people just scroll on social media. And if you are not infusing your brand into literally everything you post, they may look at your content and not even realize that it's you. If there is not your face, if you are the face of your business, or your logo, or your brand colors, or your brand font, or some combination of all of those things in a post,
yeah.
they're not resonating and they're not connecting. So I mean, even before I work with clients now, I kind of have it as like a check mark box. Do you have branding for your business? Because if they
Mhm.
don't, I don't want to work with them, as bad as that is to say, because they're not going to get the end result that they're looking for because they haven't done the foundational work. So,
Oh yeah, totally. And I always like forget that too, because when I say branding, I knew that I mean so much more. But a lot of times, like you're so right. On the other side, people hear that word and they're like, "Oh, yeah, I have my logo. That's it." But it's so much more than that. I mean, it's
mhm,
really like a brand strategy is really what we call it in a brand identity. And it's about having like a full package foundation of knowing what your business is. And it's the
mhm,
fonts, it's the colors, it's the tone of voice you use, messaging. When I work with clients and we really do the like a full brand build up, I mean, I give them like a 35-page document with like all of this like brand stuff in it.
mhm.
Because there's so much that goes into just understanding what your business should look and feel like besides just the logo.
hmm And I feel like it's really important at like the startup stage for you so that everything you do can kind of tie back into your branding so that you stay in alignment. But I also feel like this is really important when your business grows, and it will, to the point that you're starting to bring on employees because
Mm,
you know what your branding may be. But if it is not written down in a 32-page document that Izzy gives you, you then have to teach the people that are representing your business how to be all encompassing of the things that we've just been talking about, which is really important. So there's definitely value in going through that process and not just because
mhm.
you say 32-page document and I was like, whoo, that sounds like a big commitment. But at the same time, it also makes 100% sense why you would need something like that for your business. So I feel like we could talk about branding for quite a while, but I want to make sure that we talk about some website stuff too, because I remember a year ago when I was trying to build my website and I was like totally lost. I felt so overwhelmed. You Google start a website and you're like inundated with like 100 different options of like
Mm,
platforms and features. And it's just I'm not techie. That's not my area of expertise. And it's very overwhelming. So for the
yeah.
entrepreneurs that are in that position, what do you recommend? Where do you start? What do you look for? What's important and what's fluff?
Yeah, you're so right. I mean, there are so many avenues and blog posts and YouTube videos you can go down. But I think really at the end of the day is like figuring out what you want out of your website before you even go looking. So just understanding like the goals of your website. Do you want a website that gets people onto your email list? Do you want a website that makes it really easy for people to contact you? Do you want a
Mm,
website where you can like build a community and like have a blog that gives out tips? Like there's so many different tools and so many different ways you can use a website. And so before you even go looking into, okay, I want to design a website, I think really the biggest step is to just sit back and be like, why do I want a website? Do I want a
Mhm.
website to show credibility? So that's kind of the first step. It's just like figuring out why you want a website. Then this is what people forget, and you would be so surprised. Go look at websites or just start noticing
Mm,
websites. I mean, we're on websites constantly. I mean, technically, even
mhm.
Instagram is a website. Um,
True.
and so it's just like you need to go out there and like look at websites, look at your competitor websites, and just start on like noticing like this is a website I love. This is why I love it. This is the website I hate. I don't like this, or this is a
Mhm.
boring website. You know, it's like people forget that there's websites all around you. And so just start noticing and start paying attention to like what it is you want on a website.
Mhm.
So that's kind of like before you even jump into it. You really got to kind of like do a little bit of homework of what it is you need.
Mhm.
From there, then I think the next step is really just deciding if you have the funds to really invest in a website designer,
Mhm.
because it's going to make it 1,000 million times easier for you. You know, you don't have to sift
Yep.
through the tech. You can talk to a website designer and be like, what platform should I use and why?
Mhm.
And we'll help you and guide you through that. So if you have the money to invest, it is, I would say, so worth it to just hire a website designer. But I understand that that's not always the case. And there's definitely some people who want to try and DIY their website and build a website.
Mhm.
And there's definitely sources out there to help you do that too. I think when it comes down to that, it's just finding a platform that you feel comfortable with. And there's millions of platforms out there. I mostly use Showit. Showit is a website platform that I always suggest, just because I feel like you can build really great websites and you can build your business longevity onto it.
Mhm.
But then there's like smaller, I shouldn't say smaller, there's like more startup website platforms. Like you have like Wix and
Mhm.
Squarespace and those ones that are kind of like they can do anything and they're pretty basic. And so just finding a platform that works with you and then finding resources that help you develop that website into what you want it to become.
Right.
That was
That
like
makes sense.
that was a huge info dump. So
I don't think I answered it, but my website is currently built on Wix, and I was ready to make the transition to show it. I was like, I trust Izzy, and if this is what she recommends, then
yeah.
you know what, let's do it. But at the same time, I was also in a place where I couldn't build my website, nor did I unfortunately have the financial capital to bring Izzy on to do the full build for me. So Grayson's like, well, I'll do it. I was like, perfect. He's like, but I'm not going to learn a new website provider to do it for you. So I was like, so it is on Wix and it'll stay there until I have some more income in my business. But I definitely feel like you're right. And there are limitations to using kind of the
Mhm.
jack of all trades platforms, which, I should take my own advice for because I tell my clients all the time, do not use the email providers that come with your website because they really don't have any features for you. They're just using it as like a checkbox in their marketing
Yeah,
toolkit, and you're going to
totally.
outgrow it so fast.
Same with some of those website platforms. They're kind of built to get people started and they're really enticing because they have free, you know, you can build a website for free basically.
Mhm.
But then all of a sudden, like you're a year in your business and they've upcharged this, and then you've had to add in this and this and this. And it's like I feel like
Mhm.
with Wix and Squarespace, it's so easy to just get lost in all these upgrades and like new fees and charges and like with it being very average. So yeah, I
Mhm.
don't know. That's kind of why I've just started to push people away from them and more on to Show It. I just think that Show It's a lot more clear and open about their intentions.
But okay. And on the note of my rebrand, we are plugging away at it very slowly. You'll be proud of me. I finally caved and I ordered my new business cards and new magnets for my car and a new phone case so that we're all going to be new and on brand now. So the only piece of the puzzle left is my website, and I'm going to be the first to admit that I've been dragging my heels on it because it feels like this monumentous project. It is just so large and there's so much going on, which is 100% why you hire Izzy and don't try and DIY it. But for the people that, are in my position and need to do a DIY, where do you start?
Yeah. Which is so fair. I mean, I love design. So like the design side of my business was really easy for me, but there were areas of my business when I started that I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. But I, like you said, like I just didn't have the funds right away to invest. And I didn't want to take out a loan to invest in social media or website copy or things like that because that was scary too. And so I really wanted to be strategic with how I use my funds for my business. And so I get it. That's a point that a lot of people are in when they start.
Mhm.
And that's okay. So, um, which it is a daunting thing. And especially I feel like I just like word vomited a lot of like the text that I have starting a website. So it's like maybe some people should skip forward to right here because now we're going to break it down and make it a little bit easier because
Yeah.
it shouldn't be daunting. If your website is a roadblock in your business and you're like putting off other things or you're not moving forward in your business or you're just putting off doing a website in general because it scares you, you're losing a lot of potential. I just
Mhm.
very recently actually published a website for my client and it's one page and then a contact form
Hmm.
because she's not at the point in her business where she's like, I have a bunch of testimonials, I have a bunch of services, I have all this copy. She didn't have those things yet, but she still wanted a place where she could send potential clients, show off her credibility, show off her
Mhm.
services, introduce people to who they are, and then also have a great way for people to get in contact with her. And so for her and where she's at in her business, having a one page that is like an impactful homepage is so much more valuable than like dragging your feet and not launching a website for 7 months because you're scared. Like just,
100%.
yeah, nail the homepage, make it welcoming, and get that out there. And then on the back end, you can continue to work on all the other pages. You can continue to build out. You can continue to invest in other pieces when you get the funds. But the first step is really that homepage because that's where you display bits of everything in your business and help people to really get to know you and what you're doing. And so that's always the first step. I mean, even
Okay.
when I worked with you, I was like, let's make your homepage, let's get this
Yeah.
designed well, and then you can continue to build your website from there. I mean, I have like
Mhm.
20 pages on my website currently, which I really should go through. But
Wow.
yeah, I know. I just like, because I mean, the longer, well, it's really
It's
easy for
true.
me because I can just go in there and do it because that's what I'm good at. But
Mhm.
every time I have a new freebie or this or this or this, I just like add another page.
Yeah.
And my website has been growing with my business. But when I just
Mhm.
started, I pretty much just had a home page, maybe a couple other pages at that point. But make it small in the beginning because your website is something that can grow with your business as you grow. So that's kind
Mhm.
of the small tangible step that I help people figure out. It's like it doesn't have to be this a massive, huge project right away. Make a homepage. Start there.
Okay. Okay. That sounds good. So can
Hmm.
people book like free discovery calls with you to kind of talk through this process of what they actually need to get started?
Yeah. So I do have free website audits that are available all the time. You can go to the link in my Instagram bio. I think that's actually the only way you can get there. So go to my Instagram,
Oh.
there's a link there. I need to redo my homepage and put these things more accessible. But the other free source that I have coming up, I'm doing a webinar. And when we launch this podcast, it will be next week. So it's on May 25th and it's a free webinar and it's all about building an impactful homepage. Let me read it off so I don't mess up the title. It's
Okay.
Designing Your Homepage with Purpose, How to Stand Out
Mm.
in a Crowded Online Space. Because I believe so much in building your homepage and having that really be a strong foundation for your online presence. So during this webinar, we're going to walk through like all the important things you need in a homepage, how to make it an experience for
Mm.
the people that land on it, and how to really help people fall in love with you while they're just looking at this one page of your website. And so that's a great free resource. I'm inviting all of you. It's also a birthday party for my business. And so it's going to be a
Ooh.
really fun webinar. So if anyone's listening and is like, yeah, I need help with my homepage, sign up. The link is in my Instagram bio. It's on my website. Come join us and learn about your homepage.
Mhm. Okay. So we don't want to give away all your webinar secrets, but just like a really quick, brief overview, what key pieces do people need to have on their homepage to like make it? Because maybe they can kind of put some of this stuff together so then they do the webinar with you and like they can action it right after because they've already thought about it.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, and get started mapping it as soon as you can. The webinar really just help you hone it in. With my home pages, how I describe it to people is you want it to feel like a coffee date. Okay. So with a new friend, not an old friend, that's different. But like you're meeting someone for the first time on a coffee date, you're sitting down. You're not going to tell them your entire life story. You're not going to list out every single detail of your services and bore them to death. And you're
Mhm.
not going to like you're not going to tell them pointless information that they're not going to care about. Like when you sit
Mhm.
down and you meet someone for the first time, you give them kind of like these tidbits of all the different pieces of you. And that's exactly what your homepage is. You want to have pieces of your homepage for all the important things going on in your business. And so you want to give them a brief overview of what your business is, who you serve. You also want to give them a brief overview of your services. You want to give them a brief overview of your bio and any other really important things that you have going on. You want to give them just a brief overview because that way, if they're interested, they'll probably click on it and go to wherever that's
Mhm.
linked to. So, if it's like they see your services and they're kind of interested, they'll take the step then to book a discovery call or go to your service page or go wherever. And so your homepage isn't a place to just dump all this information and bore people. It's really supposed to be a place where you allow people to get to know you and you allow people to figure out how they want to best engage with you. And so, yeah, when you think about a homepage as a coffee date like that, it can kind of make it easy to be like, okay, these are things that I would really want to tell someone right away and get them excited about. And then save some of the bigger details for other places where they can continue to dive in if they want. So that's kind of
Mhm.
my best tip for laying out a homepage that's not overwhelming.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. And thinking about how you designed my homepage, it's like literally what you do for your clients. So
Hmm.
solid advice.
Yeah, it works out really well. And the
Mhm.
other thing too that is like the second biggest thing after you've kind of navigated everything else that you want to have on your homepage, go back up to the top because when someone lands on your homepage, you have like 0.05 seconds for them to be like, okay, I want to keep working with this person or I want to get the heck out of here. So like
Mhm.
what is on the top of your homepage that's going to get them to continue to scroll and continue to read? Have a really great hero statement, which is the big
Mhm.
statement up on top that just speaks to them. With yours, we did a photo of you and a video, like have some
Mhm.
movement, have something that's dynamic. So people are like, oh, this is cool. What is this about? And then they get down to the rest of the
Yeah.
coffee date. But in that beginning, you want to be like, dang, what can I have up here that's going to get them to want to stay here?
Yeah. And you know what? That is really good advice. And if you guys haven't done so already, because this is your first interaction with Izzy, then go and visit her website and take a look. Maybe don't check out all, 25 pages of it, but check out her homepage and like her about page, because one of the things that really drew me in that made me want to work with her is how animated it was in the sense that there was a lot of moving pieces, but also that she was really good about taking, I guess you call it B-roll of herself in, her natural habitat. I don't know what the wording for this is, but there were a
Yeah.
lot of like short video clips of you on your site, and it really did help me get to know you. So that's actually one of the things that's on my to-do list. I need to get back in this studio to kind of take some of those. My house is not set up for B-roll, so that I can put them on my site because I want it to be more interactive and an
Mm,
experience for the
yeah.
people that make it there.
Yes, experience. That's my favorite word. I could give you a TED talk right now about why your website needs to be more of an experience.
Yes.
Which
My experience is still under construction. I'm just gonna put that out there.
is okay. I mean, that's totally okay. Start with what you can, and then you can always continue to build. And you really, really should continue to update your website every few months. And so, like, don't
Yeah.
feel pressure. Get out what you can. And then as you have more time, as you have more resources, continue to update it. But I think
And I feel
having
like
a website is the first step.
Oh, for sure. And you were so right about that too, though, because I had someone that was, new to me, but they had seen me and then did a little bit of a deep dive on on my website, and they were like, "So, like, how many kids do you have?" Because in one spot it says two, and then I click somewhere else and it says three, and I was like, "Oh." You really do. It's not a set it and forget it, which, I 100% thought it was, but you're right. It needs to grow and evolve with you. And it needs to be something that you go back and edit regularly because life happens and your business
Yeah.
grows and your website needs to reflect that. So I
Yeah.
like that.
I like to think of your website as an employee. Like, if
Mm,
you treat it like an employee, it's going to work for you too. If you invest some time and maybe a little money, it's going to work for you just as well as another employee, because that person that was creeping on your website, that wasn't time that you were spending engaging with them. That was time your website was spending engaging with them. And so if that led to a discovery call with a client, technically your website was working for you just like a good sales, you know, uh, sales,
funnel.
what is that called? Yeah, or yeah, a good sales like person, instead of having a
Mm,
person there, you just had your website there. And so yeah, definitely invest some time in your website as you can and as you grow.
I love that. It's your way of expanding your business without having to legally list your business as an employer because I've been looking into that and I don't know how it is in the States, but man, is it an investment in Canada.
Is it
Just like
really? I haven't
okay.
gotten to that point.
Yeah, because you have to start like you have to have an HST number and you have to be like a corporation. So you have to pay to incorporate and you have your like WSIB for your employees and you have to pay into like EI and unemployment insurance and all of that stuff. It is not a small thing. It's not something you do on a whim.
No. Yeah,
No.
no.
Anyway, so one of the website projects that I'm working on right now, I think my homepage is like getting really close to being done now, which is super exciting for me. So we've kind
Mhm.
of transitioned to my sales page. I know the about page is really important and also up there, but for now, my big frustration, and a lot of business owners will find that once they've got their homepage, this will probably be one of their next projects because you spend so much time repeating the same information over and over and over to people about something that
Yeah.
could very easily sit on your website. This is, your website employee working for you of these are my packages and these are my prices.
Yeah.
If you're okay with that general ballpark, then you can book the call. But I spend a lot of time
Totally.
having calls with people, which, I love, but is very time consuming. So, yeah, that's my next project. But my question here, roundabout way of asking, do
Yeah.
you list prices on your website?
Ooh, that's a great question.
I know.
Okay, I do personally. I have
Okay.
mine listed on there.
Hmm.
Ranges. Well, okay, one of my packages is like always the same price. My branding a website in a week, it is
Hmm.
2,500 US dollars because I want that to be really my whole brand is very like honest and open. That's kind of like how I am as a person too.
Hmm.
And so like I personally have my prices listed and especially that package. I want people to see right away that this is how it is. There's no like this plan or that or whatever.
Hmm.
It's really clear. So for me, having my prices made sense. But then like I have a custom website build that, if someone wants 20 pages like me, it's obviously going to cost a lot more than if someone wants 2 pages. And so for things like that, I have a range. So that way people can kind of at least get to know what it might be like. But I have it at the bottom. Okay. And so
Hmm.
this is like a little bit of that psychology of building a website that sometimes people don't think about is like
You did go to school to be a brand therapist.
it's in there somewhere. But on your sales page, have all these things, testimonials, what like the benefits, like have all these things built first, and then have the investment listed at the bottom. So it's like they really fall in love with it while they're scrolling, and they're like,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, I need this. This is what I want. I love it. So by the time they get to the investment, they're like, okay, I already love it. Let's do this. I see how much it costs. Like I'm ready to make that decision.
Mhm.
Um, so that's how I generally suggest people to do it. Though I understand that not everyone feels comfortable with their prices out
Mhm.
there. And I think that that's okay too, as long as you make it easy for people to figure out kind of what your range is, because you don't want to get a bunch of inquiries for people that have like $100 budget, because then it's
Mhm.
then it's going to waste your time, it's going to waste their time. And so you kind of want to at least help people start to understand what the budget will be for a project so that it's not like
Right.
crazy. Or you can even like some people have like password protected pricing. So that's someone can like fill out a form and then you can send them the password and then they can see your prices after you've been
Hmm.
like, okay, yeah, this is kind of the person I want to work with. Let them see your prices after that. So I don't know. There's a lot of ways to do it. I don't think there's any right answer. I think it really is up to like what feels best for you.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. I feel like some people, especially in like the service space, are like, well, I don't want to put prices on my website because, everything is like a custom price and I don't want someone to see a number and then come in assuming it's going to be that price. And I get that. But at the same time, I feel like what I've been experiencing is sticker shock. So I'll have people think that they have a good size budget, come in, have a call with me, and then hear my actual prices, and they're like, whoa. And then I feel bad because I know that they were really
Mm-hmm.
excited to work with me, but it's not, doesn't click that way.
Totally. That's why I think
Hmm.
the range method is great. If you're a service provider and you kind of always you have to meet with a person and figure out what your time commitment is going to be before you actually give them a real price.
Hmm.
Ranges are great. I mean, it can even be like a $4,000 range, so it's not like super specific.
Okay.
But then there's a low point, there's a high point, and people generally think that they're somewhere in the middle. And then when you actually work with that client, never give them the highest and never give them the lowest. I mean, give them somewhere in the middle. So that way they're like, oh, I'm getting a deal because it could have been the high point.
Mm.
Or it just like helps their mind. So that way all of a sudden it's not like the sticker shock like you're getting. It's more of like you kind of it's like a little bit of psychology, I guess, in a sense of
Hmm.
like not stalking them, but also letting them know that like they're going to be in this range. But then when you don't ever give them the highest price, then they don't ever feel bad about the price. They're always going to be like, oh, well, I kind of got a little bit of a discount or a deal here. So that's my
Hmm.
biggest tip on that. Ranges can be great for that reason.
Okay. That's really good advice, actually. So-
Good. Yeah.
Okay. So I have a couple just kind of like, I don't want to say random questions, but things that I like
Hmm.
asking because I get really good answers from. So,
Okay.
what was the biggest failure or mistake that you've made, either in your business or like specific to website? I'll leave that up to you, or that you've seen with your clients' websites,
Ooh. Um,
or just
biggest.
your best
Oh,
learning experience as an entrepreneur,
I
whatever works for you.
Okay, I got one.
Okay.
This is the biggest mistake that I see people doing. Maybe I should give a personal one. So, well, I don't have a personal one off the top of my head. So we're going with the biggest mistake that I see people make on their websites. Okay, so you can have 20 plus pages like me. That is fine. It's acceptable.
Mhm.
But if you have 20 plus pages in your menu on your website, that is when we've like, that's a
Mm,
no-go. Your menu on your website you want to have like the key pages that people need to navigate. And then on those pages, they can be linked out to other places. But you should never like list more than, I'd say 10 would be like pushing it. Like I like to keep it
okay.
around like five. And I have had people come to me and be like, or show me their website, and it's like across the top on every single page is like double decked. So like there's like 10 options, and then under that there's like 10 more options, and that's their menu on every page. And it's overwhelming. People get decision fatigue, and it's just not fun to look at. So menus.
Okay, good to know. All right. So, what would you say one of your biggest learnings has been from your business? Something that you like weren't expecting as an entrepreneur? Because I feel like you kind of like you made the intentional decision to leave corporate, but
Mhm.
you didn't really set out to be an entrepreneur before that, did you?
No, no, I kind of transitioned out. Okay, well, realistically, they ran out of money and they couldn't really support my position anymore. So I didn't like intentionally leave. However, I was like so miserable that I wasn't like looking for a job right away because I was like need to heal my mind a little bit after the corporate stint. And so I was kind
Hmm.
of like in between. And then I just like started freelancing because I had a background in design and people always need design work. And I worked with some really, really cool people right away. And I was like, holy cow, this could be like my life all the time, just like working with cool people and helping them like get
Yeah.
noticed. And so yeah, I really just leaned into it from there. So I kind of like was an accidental entrepreneur. I think that does like lend to my biggest learning moment was that when I started my business, it was like still the pandemic. I moved to a new town. I was like pretty fresh out of college. And so I was used to seeing people and interacting with people like 24/7. I lived with five girls. So like I was always around people and then
Mm-hmm.
I never saw people ever. I like lived with my boyfriend at the time and we had a cat. And besides them, like I just didn't see anyone because there wasn't opportunities to. And I
Mm-hmm.
felt really isolated and alone. And I think what was one of my biggest learning things was that even though you work from home, being a solopreneur, you can like still be as social as you want. You know, there's ways to meet people from like all over the country. Like I had a coffee date with a girl who's living on an island outside of the Panama Canal the other day. And I was like, this is so cool. Like in
Have a
corporate,
guest room.
I was like, can I do business there? But it's like I think that's the thing that it took me like a year or two to learn is that being an entrepreneur, you can still have like a great it's not like talking to coworkers, but it's almost better because it's like talking to people who are in the exact same position as you and like make
Mhm.
friendships, like deep friendships, honestly, versus being isolated. I don't know. If you think about it that way, it's like you can like go out to these like online networking things or like meet people and stay connected and check up and help each other. And it's like this really cool community that I don't think I knew about right away.
Mhm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I mean, it's somewhat situational based. Like, man, do I not wish that I could just go out and sit in a coffee shop all day and like have random conversations with other people that are there? But like, I'm not bringing three kids to do that. But it's true. And you kind of have to make the most of your situation. And the social
Mhm.
piece was something that I really lacked too. So, part of that is, I'm on my stories on Instagram a little bit more because it feels social. And I could go out and do a lot
Totally.
of networking and things like that. But even, like co-working spaces are great options too for solopreneurs. So yeah, I like that. That's a really good piece of advice.
Yeah. It says like it's what you make it, like exactly what you said. So it can be as social as you want it to be or as isolating as you want it to be, because there's some people that are introverted that just love that too. So I mean, it's really what you make it.
Yeah, for sure. And what you make your socials is a very social experience, which is why I love following you. It always seems like you're
Thanks.
doing something fun, coffee shops and talking to people that live outside the Panama Canal and all of this fun stuff. So do you have like a really good piece of advice for blending kind of life and business? Because as a business owner, you kind of
Mhm.
you do a lot of both at the same time sometimes.
Yeah. Um, totally. And I think I'm still learning. And that was a huge thing. That's why I left like the corporate world that I was in. I was working in like tech startup world and it was kind of like expected to work like 60 plus hours a week. And that's just what was normal. But I'm also the type of person, like you said, like I love visiting family and traveling and doing these things. And so it just like very was a huge contrast to what I wanted my life to look like. So when I started my own business, that was something that I really wanted to prioritize of like, I'm doing this because like my values are with the people I love and like that has to be like first. And so I think it's really just about setting boundaries and like giving yourself permission to not always be the best like it, what is that called? Like giving yourself permission to not always be the best worker. You know, like I'm my own boss, but sometimes I'm also a terrible employee. That's an employee. I couldn't think of the word employee. I'm my own boss, but sometimes I'm not a great employee. And like I have grace with that because in my old position, you know, I asked for a Friday off to go to my best friend's bachelorette party and I got like an eye roll. And it was like the first day off I had ever asked for. And now it's like if I want to be gone for 2 weeks because my dad's turning 70 and he's renting a cabin for us, like that takes priority because like those are the people I love and I want to be around. And as a boss, you know, it can be frustrating. I'm like, why don't you get more work done? But at the same time, it's like, okay, I have empathy with that. I have grace with myself, and I treat myself in a way that like I would want to be treated, I guess, and that's okay. And it sounds so
Mhm.
simple, but like it is really easy to be hard on yourself. It is so
Yeah.
easy to be hard on yourself. And so it's just like
Yeah.
finding the balance of like not always and having grace with yourself as well.
And it's something I 100% struggle with all the time. And it's like, I feel like there's this long list of to-dos that are all like super critical, very important. Like, if I don't do them, my business is going to like fail and implode. And it's probably not in being dramatic, but like some days it really feels like that. It's like,
Totally.
oh, when was the last time I like put up a social media post or asked someone if they wanted to come for a discovery call with me? Like, what if I need a new client in 3 weeks? Like, where is that going to come from? Because I'm not doing all of these things. But at the same time, it's like, one of my business values at least is really delivering exceptional customer service for the clients that I do have. And I don't want to sacrifice that on a what if scenario for 3 weeks from now. And it's important too at home, like, bedtime with my kids and being able
Yeah.
to spend time with family is kind of that big thing. So it is definitely a learning curve. I will say that, but you're right. We need to see it from both sides, the boss and the employee side, and kind of accept that there's probably no perfect balance.
Yeah, because I think they like to talk about a lot that like when you're a solopreneur, like you're your own boss and that's really cool. But at the same time, you're your own employee and that's hard. And I feel like we forget about that. But yeah, it's a two-sided coin and you have to give yourself grace and empathy on both sides of it.
For sure. That's a really great analogy because both sides of the coin can never be up at the same time.
Ooh, that is good. Ooh, yeah.
Okay. All right, Izzy, it has been absolutely fantastic talking with you today. I've learned a lot and now have homework for my website. So I'm sure that the people listening are going to have just as much value after our conversation today. So if people want to learn more or, maybe book a discovery call or a website audit with you, how do they find you? Where do you hang out?
Yes. So, like we just said, I am actually very social on social media, not in like a weird influencer way, as in a I want to make friends with everybody way.
Mm-hmm.
So, come find me on Instagram. I'm at Izzy Waite Design. Or if you want to find some more information, you can go to my website, which is just izzywaite.com. Those are really the two biggest places I hang out. But yes, I have some really exciting upcoming things. So come check out my
Mm-hmm.
Instagram. My webinar is going to be next week on May 25th, which is going to be a blast. So I filed for my like LLC the same on my birthday because I wanted to have like an easy date. And so
Oh,
yeah, so in May, Izzy Way Design is turning 2 and I am turning 26. And so I'm throwing a
you're
party,
so
which is my
young.
webinar. And I feel old though, but yeah, it's really not that old. So yes, I'm throwing a party, which is my webinar, and so it's not just going to be a boring webinar. It's going to be fun. I'm giving away a present because somebody has to
Ooh.
open presents, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And so come, bring your friends, invite your neighbor. I don't care who, but it's going to be a great webinar, and you're going to leave it with like some really, really great tips on how to make your homepage impactful and how to
Mm-hmm.
have a homepage that actually is an experience and converts people from just viewers to like, oh my gosh, I absolutely love this person. I need to work with them right now. So yeah, it's gonna be a great time. So come check that out and register so that you get all the reminder emails so you don't forget about it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Izzy designed my website, and I'm still going to the webinar because I'm sure I'm going to learn something new. So, definitely somewhere you need to be. And, just like one quick thing that I wanted to say before we wrap up officially, but Izzy is definitely the kind of person that you want to have in your corner because she is a connector at heart and she is just so genuine. So, sit down, have a chat with her because there's a lot of times where I'm like, Izzy, I need to know this kind of person that does this thing. And she's like, oh, I've got this person. And I was like, this is why I told you. So she really
That's
is
so true.
fantastic for those kinds of things too.
Oh, you're so sweet. Yes, I really do. I just love people. And so, yeah, even if you don't want a website, you just want to be friends, come and have a coffee chat with me and
Mhm.
I'll get you in my little community of people that I love.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, well, thank you so much. And I'm so excited for this episode to be live. Thank you so much for tuning in to Go Get Great. I hope you found some useful tips and tricks that can help you make life and business work together. If what I said resonates with you, please share it on social media and don't forget to tag at Brittany Miller Socials so that I can celebrate you for taking those first steps towards achieving greatness. Remember, success doesn't happen overnight. It takes dedication, hard work, and a lot of spirit. So don't be afraid to dream big and go after what you want. Keep striving for greatness. You get closer with every step forward, no matter how small they may seem. Until next time, go get great.